Today I'll go over roughly how I made about 1.4k each week during uni, and I'm not talking about those generic passive income ideas like writing an ebook and publishing it to Amazon, or things like dropshipping and investing in cryptocurrency or even stocks, for example. There's a lot of great videos on them already, so there's no point in me making another video in an already saturated market unless I talk about something new. And that something new is how I actually made about 1.4k each week. It varied week to week, but roughly it was 1.4k on average during my time at uni, and that was using something called arbitrage betting or positive expected value betting. And that was basically like for a year or so I did this, and that was how I was able to sustain my lifestyle. I could afford to go out and eat with friends or just pay rent and buy things that I wanted to buy. So to make my income, I used a strategy known as arbitrage betting and also a subset of that strategy known as positive EV betting. And I have a lot of details on both of these topics, and you can check them out in the videos linked over here. Now, you might be thinking, this probably sounds too good to be true. How can you make so much money just from betting on sports? Isn't sports betting going to lose you money? That's why betting is very looked down upon and is quite taboo. And yes, there is going to be a bit of variance involved in your P&L, especially over the short term, but if you do it consistently and bet frequently, all your profits should even out in the long run. So this is my P&L broken down across the sports books and across each day, and the total P&L and how much time I spent. So you can see in my first week I made 944, second week 1070, next week I didn't make much, 480, and most weeks was a bit over 1,000, some weeks slightly less, some weeks a lot more, like this week. There was one week where I actually lost a little bit of money, 355, and there were lots of days where I lost money, but generally it was very hard for me to lose money in a week. And there was one week where I actually made 2,900 in one day and 4,500 that week. And then there was a week where I lost 470, I lost 1,190 in a day. That's like the extent of the variance that you can expect, and this is the total. So the average of that is 1,397 across all the weeks. You can see the P&L chart is consistently going up. So why is it that arbitrage sports betting and positive EV sports betting can actually be used to make a profit and is actually possible, as you just saw in my P&L? Well, the reason is because the sports betting market is very fragmented, and there's lots and lots of different sports books, and every single one of those sports books generally, for the most part, set their odds independently. This means bookie A or sportsbook A might decide the fair odds for this team to win might be 1.5, and another sportsbook might think the odds are 1.6 for one team if they think they're not as strong as the other sportsbook. And as you get more and more of these sportsbooks, eventually there will be prices that are out of line. And also this is because there's like tens of thousands of different lines and different odds at one time. For example, if I just go to one sportsbook like here, this market, there's like hundreds just for this one particular game that we're betting on, and there's hundreds and hundreds of games and hundreds of different sports and events happening. So it's very likely that two or more of these different models across different sportsbooks, across different sporting events, will become out of sync, and the odds will drift away from what their fair odds should be, and because of that there is now an opportunity. So you can either choose to bet on that particular bet that where the odds are too high and you're getting a very good price, so buying something very cheap essentially, or you can choose to bet on that and also hedge on the other side, so betting on both sides or betting on all three outcomes if you're thinking of a football game, like betting on one team to win, the other team to win, and also on the draw. And that way you can basically guarantee yourself a profit no matter what happens, and this is called arbitrage. Whereas if you only bet on the side where the odds are higher than they should be, then that is called positive EV betting. So how did I personally actually get started? Well, back in 2021, when I was doing an internship, I learned arbitrage sports betting from a friend. Before that, I always thought that there was money to be made from sports betting if I could figure out how to do it, if I had a push in the right direction. And during that internship, I met someone who actually had done it before, and he taught me a lot of the basics of how it worked, and then I really actually enjoyed the mathematical side and learning about probability and learning about odds and trying to model some of these events by creating Excel models for different betting strategies. Initially, my time commitment was quite high, like maybe in the first week or two I was spending about 10 to 15 hours or so, mostly not making any profit and just actually modeling all the different strategies where I thought there were possible opportunities. And this was mostly for promotional offers rather than pure arbitrage, and these were what I call synthetic arbitrage opportunities and synthetic positive EV bets. So that was in the beginning when I was modeling things out. I didn't really make that much money, maybe like a few $100s in the first couple of weeks, but after that my time commitment managed to get reduced, as after I'd learned everything, then it becomes a lot easier to place the bets, because all you're doing essentially is just bang bang pressing a few buttons. It's not that hard as long as you know what you're doing and which ones you're supposed to be betting on. So after like maybe the first month or so, I could just spend about roughly 1 hour per day during the weekdays and maybe about 4 to 5 hours or so on the Saturday when there was a lot of betting and betting became a lot busy. For example, there was like lots of horse races on the Saturdays and also lots of different sporting games like the Premier League, NRL, AFL, NFL, all the different games that were being played. They had a lot of opportunities on them on Saturday. So for the week, I'd roughly spend about 10 hours or so, or just under 10 hours, maybe like 8 to 9 hours. So what I did was I started off with promotional betting. These were strategies that my mate actually taught me, and also strategies that I expanded further on and developed myself, and gradually optimized over a period of 2 to 3 years. And this really allowed me to build my bankroll from just the $2,000 initially to well over $5,000 just from the initial promos that bookmakers offer you. And I made a video here which is a quick tutorial of how an example of that works, where I can make $70 risk-free. Or if you want to know more details, you can check out the full course where I break down everything into lots of 2-hour classes and different practice questions and examples that show you how to do it, and you can do the promotional betting yourselves. And that link is up over here as well, and you can check it out on my website. So after you've built enough bankroll, say you have at least $5,000 to $10,000, then now you can actually do the pure ARB and pure positive EV opportunities. So by doing the promotions first and then getting to the pure ARB stage when you have about $5,000 to $10,000 is the natural process. So my experience and how I managed to do it really depends on the sportsbooks I had available in Australia. You might be watching this video from another country and you might not have access to the same sportsbooks that I do, but there's lots of sportsbooks in your country. For example, I'm very familiar with the books in the US and in Europe as well, but I'm sure if you just Google the best sportsbooks in your country, there might be some different rules and regulations, but generally they follow the same process with welcome offers, and there's always mispriced odds. Also, I do want to just set some realistic expectations about positive EV and arbitrage betting, and make sure you guys are fully aware of the facts, and I'm not making it sound like it's something that's going to make you millions and millions of dollars and it's super great. That's not what I'm trying to portray. So firstly, there is that steep learning curve as I mentioned earlier. You do need to know mathematical probability and know how to convert things like odds to probabilities using multiplication and division, and have a strong understanding of all the mathematics. I also want to be realistic about the amount of money you can make. I did say you can make $1,000 or $2,000 a week, and it does vary from week to week. But I want to make sure you guys understand it's not something you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars from, or make millions and millions of dollars from forever and forever and become a millionaire overnight or something like that. If you're looking to get rich quick, this is not the video for you. And the main reason for that is because there's actually something known as betting limits. It's not like you can bet $100,000 at one time and make a lot of money. Generally, these sports betting books will cap how much you can bet with them, or you could also be limited by how much money you have available to bet. Most of the times you can only get away with betting $100 or $50 on their promotions, and for the pure arbitrage bets you can get away with betting up to $1,000 maximum generally. So if you spend about 1 hour a day and make about $200 on average per day, then that equates to around $73,000 per year, which is kind of like a full-time income, which is not too bad. But realistically, you're not going to be making too much more than that. It all adds up really fast. Maybe $6 from a single bet might not seem like a lot, but you're doing so many of these bets a day. It only takes you like 20 seconds to place these bets, bang, 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 press some buttons, and you've made $6 risk-free, and this all adds up. So now that you have a rough idea of how it works, let's go through an example using today's sponsor OddsJam, which is an arbitrage website for most people in the world. They currently cover Australia, Europe and the Americas, and they're also expanding to other countries, so you can check them out. What they do is they get the odds for different sportsbooks and find the arbitrage opportunities using software, so you don't need to look for it manually. That's one of the arbitrage betting methods that I recommend, and let's take a look using their website. So this is an example of an arbitrage bet that I found on OddsJam. with Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. So there was an opportunity that was a 3.17% arbitrage opportunity, and I can work out using the OddsJam tool by typing, if I enter $150 on Oklahoma State minus 5.5, then it spits out how much I need to bet on Oklahoma plus 5.5 on PointsBet, and it will tell me how much profit I make, which is $25. So this is what I actually placed in the end. I followed what the numbers that it said to place at the odds, which is 425 plus 425 or 5.25 in decimal odds, and minus 350 or 1.29. I bet 600 instead of 612.5 because I wanted to round it to avoid suspicion and make them think I was doing an arbitrage. But either way, I basically guaranteed that I will either make $21.48 in profit or $37.50 in profit. So either way, I made at least $20, and this is just from 2 bets that I place. And there's plenty of these opportunities that you can find on OddsJam. And from what other people have said, as you can just see on the Reddit, how much can you make from arbing or arbitrage betting? Some people say 1k a week is very achievable. Other people have said they've placed how many bets, how much they've wagered, and how much total profit they've made. So you can read a bit more about this all online, and you can see what some people say about OddsJam as well. So some things you do still have to be careful for, even if you are using OddsJam, is you need to understand how the math works and how to use the website. It is pretty straightforward, it's not that hard to work out, and they do a lot of the mathematics for you, which is really nice. So you don't need to understand the odds that much, but you still need to have a basic understanding. You also need to be aware that lines can move very quickly. What I mean by this is you need to know how to navigate the sportsbooks quickly. Even if you see an arbitrage bet on OddsJam, by the time you go to the website and play around and find it, at that point the odds might have changed and you're not going to be able to bet on that arbitrage opportunity anymore. You need to be very quick and bet on both of them at roughly the same time before there's that chance for those odds to change. You should also learn that there are some risks involved, like for example only one side of the arbitrage bet letting you place the bet and the other side not letting you place the bet. So you do need to be quick about placing them one right after the other to reduce that risk. And also sometimes sportsbooks might not let you withdraw, especially the very dodgy ones that people have never heard of. So I'd recommend sticking to the main sportsbooks in your country. For example, in Australia it would be Sportsbet, Tab, PointsBet, Ladbrokes, the ones that are common knowledge to everyone. And the smaller bookies where you probably haven't heard of, they might be a bit dodgy and ask for like your bank statements and stuff like that and try to stop you from withdrawing. I'll generally stay away from those. And eventually all these sportsbooks will ban you from betting eventually, so there is a cap on how much you can make, but by that point you should have made a decent amount of money. And the last important point, which is quite important, is don't actually get addicted to this, especially if you're on a bit of a losing streak. Don't throw all your mathematics and understanding out the window and bet blindly thinking you need to make that money back. Just leave it for a day and then come back using the same tried and trusted strategy, making sure you understand all the maths and apply that skill again, and eventually it will all even out in the long run. Ultimately, this is just a side hustle. Make sure you understand that this is not going to make you rich in an instant. This is not the video for that. If you watched all this way and still haven't realized that, I don't know, I'm really sorry, maybe go watch another video. It's not going to make you a millionaire, but it will make you some good side money, and you can therefore be able to spend a little and enjoy a little bit more on things that you enjoy. So if you learned something from this video, then make sure to give it a big like down below and subscribe to this channel for other arbitrage betting and positive EV betting tips and tricks. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.